In the aftermath of the violence yesterday, President Trump issued a video statement tonight admitting that his presidency is ending and promising an orderly transition of power. But for some in his administration, it is too little and too late, resigning in protest as more than 200 lawmakers want the president out now.
A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power.
The president acknowledged for the first time that he will not serve a second term in office, and he condemned what he called lawless mayhem at the Capitol. But he took no responsibility for falsely telling his supporters for weeks that the election was stolen and urging them to fight to keep him in office. Several Trump administration officials resigned in protest over the president's handling of the crisis, including Education Secretary Betsy DeVos. Top Democratic leaders are now calling on Vice President Mike Pence to assume the Oval Office under the 25th Amendment or through impeachment.
He must be removed from office. While it's only 13 days left, any day can be a horror show for America.
Even some Republicans now agree.
The president is unfit and the president is unwell.
President-elect Joe Biden today squarely blamed President Trump for the chaos at the Capitol.
He unleashed an all-out assault on our institutions of our democracy from the outset. And yesterday was but the culmination of that unrelenting attack.
Now, it's being reported tonight that Vice President Pence will not move to invoke the 25th Amendment. NBC News has not yet confirmed this, but the question is, what is the 25th Amendment? How does it work? It actually became part of the U.S. Constitution in 1967. It says power of the president can be transferred if the president becomes sick, disabled, or is declared unable to carry out the duties of the office. Here's how it works. The vice president and at least 8 cabinet members need to agree, and the president could dispute it with a letter to Congress. Vice President Pence and the cabinet would then have 4 days to respond, and Congress would have 21 days to vote. That is the basic timeline. Now, in order to remove the president, 2/3 of Congress, meaning at least 67 senators and 290 members of the House, would have to vote yes.
Great explanation. So how likely is any of that to happen? Joining us now is James Lance Taylor. He's a political science professor at the University of San Francisco. Professor, with what Colleen has just explained about the 25th Amendment, tell me a little bit about its pitfalls, since, as she correctly explained, it states it replaces the president but doesn't actually remove him from office.
That's right. There's no provision in the 25th Amendment for removal for the president. I don't know why everyone's talking about it that way. It's a temporary process that allows, if the president is injured or sick or has a heart attack or has surgery, to transfer power temporarily, as it was explained. I think the 25th Amendment should be understood as related to a condition, not conduct. Impeachment is related to conduct. The 25th Amendment is adjusted to conditions, the president's health and health condition. So there's no provision in the 25th Amendment for presidential removal, where unless the president agrees to allow the vice president to retain power. In fact, we could end up with a really confusing situation in America.
All right, Professor,
how likely is it with only
the transfer of power? Chuck and I were talking about this with you earlier. Final 12 days of the president's administration. How do you see this playing out? He almost seemed contrite in his statement today, although you say you're not buying that.
Yeah, he was chastened by, I think, the widespread reaction. The danger of the 25th Amendment is that you could create a 3-headed presidency right now. You would create Trump, who could simply write a letter and say, after the Congress receives a letter from the cabinet, the president says, I'm fine. And then he's president again, unless Congress says he's not. It becomes disputed. So then you have Pence, Trump, and then you have Biden in the wing. So you would end up over the next 8-9 days with 3 presidents, and that, to me, is worse than a Jefferson Davis emerging to speak for the Confederacy.
Professor, what do you see likely to happen in the next 12 days?
I don't know. I like you all, I'm wondering, you know, based on the record, we know it's going to be tumultuous. But I think there's a lot of movement going on in Congress. I think they are going to impeach Donald Trump just symbolically for the record. And that, to me, is a terrible stain for him, historically speaking. A twice impeached president, that would clearly signal the worst president in American history without dispute. And so I can't imagine that Donald Trump would welcome that.
Professor Taylor, we want to thank you again for joining us live from San Francisco. Thank you.
Thank you.